Being a queen looked glamorous from a distance. Gowns, jewels, endless parties. In reality, it was a non-stop horror show with better lighting and worse smells. You were born to bleed, scream, and serve as a human baby factory for a bored king. Pregnancy was agony disguised as destiny. Every kick, every contraction was a reminder that your body belonged to the crown, and if you didn't produce a male heir fast enough, rumors spread that your womb was plotting against the kingdom. Childbirth wasn't a blessing. It was medieval extreme sports with screaming. You'd scream, bleed, and maybe even watch your organs rebel like cartoon puppets. Sometimes you survived. Sometimes the garden outside sprouted screaming faces shaped from your remains. Surviving birth didn't mean freedom. You were constantly monitored, blamed, and paraded like a circus act. One frown, one blink, one sneeze could get you dragged to the executioner's block before breakfast. Sex wasn't intimacy. It was duty, punishment, and public property. The king summoned you like a cursed notification with zero opt-out options. And if you actually liked it, congratulations. Rumors, gossip, and instant death threats. Affairs were death traps. You blink at a guard? Treason, adultery, coup plotting. The king could cheat endlessly. The queen couldn't sneeze without a tribunal. The court became a live-action horror comedy, and you were the star. Beauty wasn't power. It was a curse. Corsets crushed ribs. Gowns weighed tons and heels made walking near-death experiences. And every movement judged, recorded, and laughed at by the court. You weren't safe eating, sleeping, or drinking. Poison lurked everywhere. Wine, soup, water, sometimes just the air you breathed. Many queens died from merely existing in the wrong room at the wrong time. The people weren't kinder. They blamed you for famine, taxes, wars, plagues, anything inconvenient. You were the scapegoat, dressed in diamonds, surrounded by blood. Every day was a gamble between survival and public humiliation. The king could execute your lover, a guard, or a midwife for fun. You'd wake up, stretch, and pray your head was still attached. Even rumors could kill you. A wink at a guard could spark accusations of witchcraft. Medieval gossip wasn't just words. It was a death sentence with better hats. And the worst part? Everyone expected you to smile through it. Smile too little, accused of sulking. Smile too much, accused of seduction. Your entire life became a test of how much you could survive before screaming. Court politics were insane. Advisors plotted with each other, the king, and sometimes the furniture. Your job? Survive, and somehow look graceful while dodging murder plots, gossip, and poisoned pastries. Every meal could be your last. You'd bite into bread, and suddenly the king would call it treason. Even water wasn't safe. Sometimes it just didn't like you. And if the king was bored, you were blamed for everything. The harvest failed? Your fault. The horse ran away? Definitely your fault. Your existence alone could be considered rebellion. Eventually, the absurdity became survival theater. Every sneeze, yawn, or blink could spark rumors, executions, or worse. Queens were cursed humans performing for centuries of judgmental eyes. And when everything finally went wrong, it was spectacular. Mobs stormed the palace, plots collided, poison exploded, babies rolled everywhere. You didn't just survive, you dodged absurdly improbable death a dozen times per day. So yeah, being a queen looked beautiful from afar. But behind the silken jewels, blood, tears, paranoia, poison, sex scandals, absurd executions, screaming babies, and absolute chaos. And that was just a Tuesday. Being a queen wasn't happily ever after. It was surviving the king, the court, the people, and somehow yourself. So next time you see a crown, remember, it's gold, jewels, and a horrifyingly long list of things that want to kill you. Centuries passed, kings changed, crowns melted, and yet, every time someone said, "girl boss," a ghostly queen somewhere just rolled her eyes. Because deep down, it was never power, it was performance. And if you survived this royal nightmare, congratulations! You've officially earned a crown made of trauma and sarcasm. You're born as a princess in ancient Egypt, daughter of Pharaoh Ptolemy XII. Everyone expects you to smile and wave, but your life is already a battlefield. Even as a baby, your smile could save your life or get you thrown into exile. Every giggle, yawn, or burp could be considered rebellion. Your first lessons aren't about music, art, or toys. They're about survival. Bow at the right angle, smile at the right person, and never, ever trust anyone. By your teenage years, you're fluent in Greek, Latin, Egyptian, and 3 dialects that no one else speaks. Not because you love languages, but because a mispronunciation could mean death. Your first real lessons in power involve politics, spies, and absurdly complicated family feuds. One wrong move and your siblings could team up with assassins, or even cats trained as spies. Palace life is chaotic. Chandeliers swing dangerously. Rugs hide traps. The royal cat has its own spy network. Every day is a circus except the clowns are plotting your death. With Caesar's help, you reclaim the throne, but your life is poisoned from birth. Your own brother, Ptolemy XIII, is forced upon you as a husband, a union both politically required and morally abhorrent. Sharing a bed with your own blood is horrifying, but in Egypt, it's law, it's tradition, and it's power. Your court is a nest of vipers. Advisors, nobles, and even your tutors watch your every move. One wrong smile or whispered word could spark a rebellion, or worse, justify a family betrayal. Trust is a luxury you cannot afford. Julius Caesar, the Roman general and ruler from Rome, arrives, charming, ruthless, and politically unstoppable. He is your ally, your lover, and the father of Caesarion, your son. Every kiss, every political alliance, intertwines desire with survival. Even motherhood is political. Caesarion, your son, is a symbol, the living bridge between Egypt and Rome. Protecting him is a constant game of intrigue. Every glance from a noble is a potential threat. Your brother, Ptolemy XIII, remains a threat. His jealousy and ambition never fade. He manipulates courtiers, spreads rumors, and seeks allies among your enemies. Egypt's stability teeters on a knife edge every day. Caesar's assassination leaves you exposed. Rome is in chaos. Egypt is vulnerable. Suddenly, every courtier, every general, every advisor seems poised to take advantage of your weakened state. Mark Antony arrives, Caesar's former ally and a Roman general. Ambitious, cunning, and dangerously charismatic, he becomes both your lover and political partner. Together, you try to resist Octavian and preserve Egypt. Your marriage with your brother continues to haunt you. It is a grotesque display of dynastic law, a reminder that power often comes with disgust, sacrifice, and personal horror. Your nights are tense, filled with cold duty and political necessity. At the Battle of Actium, the unthinkable happens. Fire, chaos, and death surround your fleet. Antony fights bravely, but is ultimately defeated. The kingdom teeters on the brink of collapse. Antony dies, believing you lost. The city of Alexandria is engulfed in panic. Your enemies, led by Octavian, close in. There is no room for error. One misstep and your entire lineage could be destroyed. Octavian enters Alexandria. Your kingdom falls. Capture is imminent. To be paraded through Rome as a war trophy is unacceptable. Cleopatra refuses humiliation at every turn. You choose death, your final act of sovereignty. The Egyptian asp, deadly and divine, becomes your instrument. No chains, no public humiliation, only a royal exit befitting a queen of your magnitude. With calm precision, you allow the snake to strike. Poison courses through your veins. You die on your own terms, regal, composed, and unwavering. History remembers Cleopatra VII, daughter of Ptolemy XII, sister wife of Ptolemy XIII, mother of Caesarion, lover of Julius Caesar of Rome, consort of Mark Antony. Brilliant, scandalous, morally complex, unapologetic. Her life a mixture of power, horror, and strategy. Her legacy is forever. A queen who manipulated empires, survived betrayals, endured incestuous marriages, and confronted the might of Rome itself. Cleopatra's story is not sweet. It is raw, ruthless, and unforgettable. You're born into a world where children don't cry loudly, because even newborns seem to understand that hunger is listening. Your first lullaby is the sound of rats fighting over scraps on the floor. Your father owes more to the crown than he will ever earn in a lifetime. Every season brings tax collectors who smile as they take more than your family can spare. You grow up learning that the world does not care if you live or die. Your village buries more babies than it names. By 7, you already know that beauty is dangerous because men stare too long when they shouldn't. Your mother starts making you smear ash on your face to look less appealing. Your father says the kingdom protects its people, but you only see boots and whips. Every time the soldiers ride through, a girl goes missing. You learn early that daughters are debts, not blessings. Your parents love you, but they fear you more because you are a burden they cannot afford. When famine hits, neighbors disappear, selling their children to survive another week. And everyone looks at you because you are young, pretty, and unwanted by the world. When the king's scouts arrive, the ground goes silent. They don't search for talent, they search for bodies. Girls are lined up like cattle. Anyone who resists is dragged by the hair and inspected anyway. Your turn comes. He grips your jaw so tightly it bruises, studying you the way a butcher studies meat. Your father falls to his knees thanking them, not because he wants to lose you, but because now at least one mouth will stop eating. You're pushed into a wagon filled with girls who look like ghosts. The door slams, sealing your fate in darkness. On the road, one girl whispers, "They never come back." Another whispers, "If they do, they're not the same." The palace doors swallow you whole. and the first thing they take is your name. You become a number, easier to forget that way. Your hair is cut, your clothes stolen, your life stripped away. The matron says, "You are property now. Act like it." Training isn't graceful, it's brutal. If you misstep, you're hit. If you speak, you're punished. If you cry, you're beaten harder. At night, girls cry themselves to sleep until they learn not to cry at all. Tears only attract attention from guards. The wrong kind. You learn obedience so perfectly that your own thoughts begin to feel dangerous. Thinking becomes a crime you commit in silence. The concubine quarters are not luxurious. They are gilded prisons. Gold-plated bars hurt just as much as iron. You quickly learn that concubines aren't rivals. They're survivors willing to kill each other for one more day of favor. Jealousy becomes a weapon. Poison becomes common. A girl who shares a meal with you today may try to end you tomorrow. You visit the king only when summoned, and every summons feels like a death sentence for your soul. He does not remember your name. You're simply the quiet one. Weeks pass, then months. Your reflection begins to fade. You start to look like the other concubines. Empty eyes, trembling hands, silence as your only friend. Sometimes a concubine disappears. No one asks why. Asking is dangerous. When a new, younger concubine arrives, the king forgets you. And when you're forgotten, the palace decides you're no longer needed. The queen accuses you of disrespect, a crime vague enough to justify any punishment. The guards don't even look at you as they drag you away. You're thrown into a cold underground cell to reflect on your sins. No one tells you how long you'll be kept there. Days pass, or weeks. You lose count. Darkness has no calendar. When they finally release you, you're a shadow of who you were, a shadow the palace no longer wants. You return to your village, but the villagers avoid you. They whisper that the palace changed you, that you're cursed. Your parents barely recognize you, not because your face has changed, but because your spirit has. You try to live normally, but nightmares follow you everywhere. You wake screaming, unable to breathe, remembering the palace walls. You realize that the palace didn't just steal your childhood, it stole your future too. This was the fate of concubines in medieval times, not romance. Not privilege, just quiet suffering wrapped in silk. Many were forced to submit just to survive. They were told it was their duty, that their bodies were another price of war. But it's not that simple before this. You're born in 1920. Life seems simple. You grow up in quiet streets, listening to radios, dreaming of a peaceful future, but the world around you is about to collapse. You learn to cook, to sew, to smile, to follow rules. You believe the world is safe enough for someone like you to live an ordinary life. But soon, everything you know will be shattered. By your late teens, the world starts to crumble. Newspapers scream about distant wars. Political tension rises. Suddenly, nothing feels safe anymore. In 1939, Germany invades Poland. Chaos erupts overnight. Men are drafted. Soldiers march off. Bombs begin falling. Your quiet life disappears in an instant. You're no longer just a girl with dreams. You're suddenly part of a war you never asked for. Every day becomes about surviving, working, and avoiding death. But soon you realize the world isn't just dangerous because of bombs. It's dangerous because of men with power, soldiers, officers, strangers, who see you not as a person but as something they can take. When the men went to war, many never came back. Their husbands, brothers, and fathers were gone. And in that silence, predators came. Without protection, women became targets. Soldiers, officers, and others used power as their weapon. They offered safety in exchange for obedience, food in exchange for silence. Many were forced to submit just to survive. They were told it was their duty, that their bodies were another price of war. They lived with the weight of that fear, night after night. Some carried the trauma in silence. Others bore children of men they never chose. But all of them carried invisible scars, the kind no doctor could heal. You wake up each day, work, fight, and keep others alive, even as the world continues to crush you. You become nurse, laborer, spy, and survivor. Not because you wanted to, but because no one else would. The war may have taken your home, your safety, your husband, and even your children. During bombings, evacuations, and chaos, your little ones disappeared. One moment they held your hand, the next they were gone. You searched shelters, hospitals, and camps. You asked neighbors, strangers, anyone who might have seen them. You never stopped moving, never stopped hoping, never stopped praying. The days turned to weeks, weeks to months. And yet, hope remained, a quiet, fragile thread you clung to despite every heartbreak. And then, after months of searching, a word reaches you. They have been seen, alive, somewhere beyond the ruins. You follow every lead, every whisper, every rumor, and finally, you see them, your children, older, weary, but alive, standing at the edge of a small village. Your heart stops. Time and war had changed them, but they are still your children. Tears well up as you rush forward, calling their names, voice breaking.
Alice, Peter, my children!
You hold them close, feeling their small bodies trembling, their fear and confusion mixing with relief. The weight of months of despair lifts, replaced by sobs you can no longer hold back. For a moment, the war's horrors fade. The bombs, the threats, the forced survival, all the invisible scars melt into this one fragile, shining moment of reunion. But even as joy fills your chest, the memory of those lost lingers. Friends, neighbors, spouses, gone forever. You know the world won't remember the suffering of those who endured, nor the courage it took to survive. Being a woman in World War II was never about medals or glory. It was about surviving horrors unseen by most, shouldering burdens ignored by all, enduring the worst the world could throw at you, and still finding your way back to what mattered most. Even after the war ended, life did not return to what it once was. Streets were still broken, homes still in ruins, and the silence of those lost lingered like a shadow over every corner. But those who survived, women, children, families, began the slow, painstaking work of rebuilding, not just buildings, but lives, hearts, and communities. You realize that survival was only the beginning. Every scar, every wound, physical or invisible, remained. Some mornings the quiet made you shiver. You remembered the screams, the fear, the endless uncertainty. The war shaped you in ways no medal could honor. It taught you endurance, courage, and the fragile, indomitable strength of the human heart. You learned to smile despite pain, to hope despite loss, to stand tall even when the world tried to break you. Years passed, and life slowly bloomed again. Streets became filled with laughter once more. Children ran freely, women taught, families grew. But the story of survival, the story of courage and quiet resistance lived on. They said women should be powerful, then they burned the powerful ones. And honestly, if TikTok existed back then, half of Salem would have been burned for doing the Wednesday dance. Yeah, welcome to 1692, the year when being a little different could get you literally executed. You are born in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692. Life seems simple. The village is small, the streets muddy, and the homes are cold in the winter. People pray, work, and follow strict rules, the Puritan way. Everything seems normal until fear arrives. Salem is a place of order, but also suspicion. Everyone watches each other, everyone whispers. The fear of the unknown is everywhere, and then the whispers turn into accusations. Black holes. It begins with a few girls. They claim they are possessed, that they are tormented by witches. No one questions the claims. The community is desperate to find an explanation for sickness, misfortune, and death. Fear spreads faster than fire. Suddenly, ordinary neighbors become suspects. A quarrel, a grudge, a jealousy, it doesn't matter. Any accusation can ruin a life. People are taken from their homes, questioned, and threatened. Accusations alone are enough to condemn. The accused are forced to confess or face unimaginable punishment. Torture is subtle, psychological. They are pressured to admit to dealings with the devil, to name other witches. Confession becomes survival, and survival becomes impossible. Under pressure and torment, one of the accused confesses. She pleads for mercy and names another. Her voice cracks as she says the name, Elizabeth Proctor. And with that, another life is condemned before she even knows she's accused. She knows nothing of what has been said in that cold courtroom, but the wheels of hysteria have already turned against her. When the accusation reaches her, she's stunned. She denies it, prays, begs them to see reason. But in Salem, reason has no place. The door closes behind her. The cold air of the jail replaces the warmth of home. Darkness, filth, and silence surround her. The interrogations begin. Questions twist into accusations. Every word is a trap. They tell her confession will save her, but confession is a lie. It's surrender. Days turn into weeks. Outside, the hysteria grows. More arrests, more names. Every confession births another accusation. Elizabeth's husband, John Proctor, speaks out against the madness. He calls the trials what they are, lies and fear. But truth is dangerous in Salem. Soon, both husband and wife are prisoners. Hope fades. The world they built together is gone. Elizabeth waits in her cell. She is weak, hungry, pregnant. The nights are long and filled with screams. Each dawn brings another hanging. One by one, the accused are led to the gallows. Their prayers echo in the wind. The rope tightens, the crowd watches, and silence follows. Elizabeth's turn comes, but her life is spared, not from mercy, but because of the child growing inside her. The court delays her execution. She listens as her husband is condemned. The day he dies, the world outside her cell falls silent. Only the crows cry for him. Months pass. The hysteria finally burns itself out. The courts dissolve. The survivors are released, broken and hollow. She returns home, but it no longer feels like home. Neighbors whisper behind curtains. Friends cross the street to avoid her eyes. The world moves on, but she cannot forget. Every sound reminds her of the screams. Every silence reminds her of those who never came back. The Salem witch trials leave scars deeper than death. Guilt, fear, and grief become the legacy of the survivors. The truth is simple. There were never witches in Salem, only people, afraid, desperate, and lost in their own darkness. The trials end, but the fear remains. It seeps into memory, into history, into the soul of the village. That is why it sucked to be a witch in Salem, because you didn't need to cast a spell to be condemned. You just needed to be human. Unlike witches, I can't magically summon rent money. These videos take a ton of time to make. So if you liked it, you can support me on Kofi or PayPal. Even a tiny bit really helps keep this channel alive.